Hey dreamers, this is Saku and welcome to the ultimate tutorial that you all have been waiting for. In this I'll be showing you how to start up a world or a level from scratch. I'll show you how to make landscapes, and on the way you will also learn how to make grass in 3 different ways, how to make rocks and just sculpting in general. This should give you the ultimate beginner's guide to start off, as this will include a lot of tips and tricks on the way as always, especially if you're a beginner. So let's get started. I hope you guys enjoy. So let's go and start up a new scene. The first thing you want to do in a new scene is get out a puppet to have an overlook of scale. That is really important since it's really easy to mess up the whole scale of your whole world, and you don't really want that, trust me. Then we have a few different options here. If we go into the modes and take a sculpture, we have the option to smear and stamp the sculpture. You can quickly switch between those two with the shortcut L1 and triangle. In smearing you can like draw with a 3D sculpture, you can say, and in the stamp mode you can, just stamp in one object. Both are good for their own uses and cases, but I use the stamp mode a lot more for sure. If you have a sculpture in your hand, then you can press L1 and square and get into the edit menu. There you can transform a shape, edit it, and you also have a few different options at the top. One of them being the looseness amount, which makes the sculpt more sharp or loose, and the verifying looseness option gives the object a texture in form of flex, you can say, without making the edges loose. If we're in stamp mode, we can also blend our objects, which is a really important option, and with triangle we can go into the subtract mode. Now I will show you how to make a platform or landscape. There are a few different ways to do this. First you can do smearing. That's a technique that I did in the beginning a lot. You can just go around in circles, or you can stamp in objects. After 1 year of dreams and experience of sculpting and making worlds, I kind of tend to prefer stamp and soft blending. As you can see here with L1 and square we can get into the option where we can soft blend sculpts together. You can only use the soft blend option if you're in the edit mode of one sculpt. If you're out of it, it won't work. Like this, I'm showing you how you can stamp together a platform or a landscape. You can do that in a few different ways using different sculpts as well, and I also like to cut out with soft blend as well. Like if you have your finished structure, you can soft blend or subtract it to make it a lot more smooth and clean. So it doesn't need to be perfect, especially for grassy landscapes and stuff. Definitely does need to be perfect, because what we're doing now makes it a lot more smooth and clean anyways. Okay, so next we want to go into the style mode and take the looseness option to make our object more loose, and then we choose the streaky flag, which is perfect for realistic grass. We put it onto our sculpture and then we adjust the amount with the looseness and impasto to get up our grass and make it look like actual grass. I would also recommend you to always watch the puppet on how high your grass actually is and how high you want it to be. And if we did that, we can now finally paint our sculpture, and there are 2 different ways to do this. The easier one is just using the code mode and putting one solid color. You paint it on the object and then it has the color that you put on it. It's very simple. If we tweak into the sculpture with L1 and square, we have the tint amount, which is the color you gave it. It's the one solid color, and in the audio surface type you can also choose grass. And this is super awesome because now when you walk on this sculpture it will also actually sound like grass, as you can hear now. So this is super easy, super awesome, and it's something that a lot of people are missing, I think. Okay, now let's bring our sculpture to life. We can easily do that if we go into the effects mode and choose the wave effect. put a little bit onto it and you can already see how there's like a wind going through the grass. This brings your scene to life a lot more instantly. Next I want to show you how I spray paint my sculptures. You go into the tools and go on spray paint, and then you can choose a color and the sculpture to spray paint with. In the options menu you can also soft blend it, which makes it a lot easier to get smooth shapes or a smooth spray paint on it. I usually tend to just take one solid color and then use different shades of it. Like a little bit lighter one, a little bit darker one, and soft blend it together so it gives it a lot more natural look. This is a lot better than the code mode because I think it's just unnatural if your object has one solid color. Because if you look at nature, there isn't always like everything perfect in just one solid color. It has gradient, it has a little few different shades and stuff. So yeah, I find it a lot more natural, a lot more alive looking if you do it like that. Feel free to use my techniques, and yeah. Here you can see how the sculpture already has a good gradient and definitely looks a lot more realistic as well. Now we can just tweak into the sculpt and adjust the tint amount, which is the solid color you give it, and basically you can mixture your solid color with your spray paint and smooth it out in that way. If your spray paint is too strong or too unnatural, you can still mix it up with the solid color. And now we come to another method of how to do grass, which actually is a good combination of the two if you use both together. And this is, we go into the paint mode, choose the streaky flag, and we basically draw grass. And yeah, Dreams lets you draw in a 3D space, which is super awesome, super helpful for many things. And yeah, in that way we can make a higher grass, because you know, if you have a grassy landscape, there isn't always just one level of grass. There's higher grass, there's different looking grass, different colors, and you can do that in a really good way with the paint mode. Now this footage is a little bit older, so I did use a technique that I wouldn't recommend in nowadays anymore. It's better to not just clone it like that. It's better to tweak into the paint and clone it in the section of cloning there. And also don't group paintings together if it's not for a certain purpose, because if you merge paintings together, which is the orange button just under it, then you will save up gameplay thermal. So if you have the possibility, definitely try to merge paintings together. This will save up gameplay thermal. Yeah, but also you gotta think about it that it makes all of your paintings into one. So it's not a separate painting anymore, it's one. Which is good for grass, but maybe not so good for other things. After we put another wavy effect on it to make go wind through it, we also clone it around and put it into places where we want it to see, and there you go. This is a very cool grassy platform already. This is a way you can start off your level. You can clone this platform around a lot, and yeah, with that you can already create landscapes. Also recommend you to put groups together so it's easier to clone it around. You can press double X on the controller to mark everything in your scene and group it together. But careful that you don't put the puppet into the group. Now onto the last technique that I'm showing you on how to make grass. Yes, there actually is another one, and with this technique we use a 3D sculpture to make grass and put this 3D sculpture into the other one. You can easily make overgrown grass like that, so you want to put a very low grass in your first sculpture and just clone that. For this we use a lot of impasto and looseness. We make it quite high. Also, as you just saw, you can still edit your sculpture if you placed it, if you go into the edit mode and then just stretch it. Now we just give it a quick color with the code mode. Make a wave effect on it, and now we can basically place it in the scene. But the problem is with 3D sculptures, our puppet can't walk through it. But we can easily change that if we tweak into the sculpture and go onto the physical properties and turn off the collidable button. With this, our puppet won't collide with the sculpture anymore, and we can easily go through this. In that way, in the same menu, you can also make sculptures invisible. In that way you can make invisible walls to, you know, block out areas where the character it's not able to move. And yeah, here you see we just placed it into our other sculpture. We make it sound like grass again, and you can also make it quite big, so it sticks out a little bit. Maybe I chose the wrong color here, but yeah, just to show you what's possible. And here's another showcase for you guys what you can do with the techniques that you've just learned. I've just set up a quick level, which is already pretty cool, I think. And yeah, I basically only used all the techniques that I just showed you, so you can easily do that if you want to. As I'm walking around here, you can see this could already lead up to a game level or a scene, whatever you want it to be. Also depends on your level design vision. It all sounds like grass, the way sounds like dirt. You can also do that in the same way as you did the grass. And yeah, it's all made with the 3D sculptures. As you can see here, I'm turning off the paintings and the code style and effects. So there you can see I used a lot of these spheres that I just showed you how to make it in the beginning, soft blended it together. In that way you can also make the mountains and hills. And yeah, I recommend you to try out a lot with soft blend and just blending sculpts together and giving it the effects. So now let's get away from all the grass and landscapes. Now we create some rocks or stones, and there are a few different techniques to do this, and I'm still actually trying out to find the best technique to make rocks, but this is one that definitely helped me a lot in the beginning. So first you go with L1 and square into the menu and turn on verifying looseness, and this gives it a stronger texture. And then you start basically just cutting out. It is all about cutting. In the same way I also did some of the hills and just soft blended it out. I'm speeding it up a little bit here. You can see there's a lot of detail work going on in this. I can also recommend you to spray paint before you cut actually, and cut with another color. This already makes it look a little bit more natural. I do some sharp cuts and I also do some with soft blend. In that way you can, well, just give it a rock form, you can say. It's really up to you how a rock looks. Rocks have so many different shapes, and the only thing that you really want to do is make it look different from all angles basically, because this gives you the possibility to just clone it around, turn it around, scale it up and down, and it will always look different. That's the great thing about rocks. You can only make like 1 or 2 rocks for your whole level, and it will almost not be noticeable that it's just the same rock all the time. At least if you make it properly. Now I'm giving it some more detail with some scratches in it. And yeah, I still recommend you nowadays to spray paint the color, spray paint the rock in one solid color before, and then cut out with another color. Here I just cut it out before, and now I'm spray painting it again. I like to spray paint with the sphere always. I still do that to today, and yeah. Here you can basically see the same technique that I used for the grass as well. We give it one solid color, and then we use different shades of it, a little bit lighter, a little bit darker, with soft blend together, and in that way we make it look natural and more alive. But it also depends on your style. If you want to do something stylized, it might be the right choice to just give it one solid color. And also you can still choose if you want that varying looseness option on with the stronger flex on it, or if you want to give it a different fleck. And yeah, it's really up to you with rocks. I'm just showing you a technique to start off. It always depends on what you do out of the things that you learn here. So I would definitely recommend you, if you're new to Dreams, go into new level and start up making some grassy landscape, make your own rocks, start up a new level, try some architecture. And with the architecture part, I will be having 2 new videos coming very soon about architecture as well. For the architecture already, if you want to try it out for yourself by now, then I recommend you to work with the grid a lot. And yeah. Now as you can see here, we go into the code mode and go onto the finishes, and with that we make the final touches to our texture. There are a lot of options you can use. I also recommend you to try out a lot for yourself with them. I made it a little bit shiny here because sometimes rocks tend to look shiny when light comes on them. But nowadays I also make them rough a lot more. I don't know, it's really up to you how you like it, how you find it better. Feel free to try out a lot, and yeah. Now when we have our finished rock, I'll show you techniques on how you can use them. It's basically easy. You just clone it around, you turn it up and down, you scale it up and down, and like that you give the level as much detail as you possibly want. It's just a thing, when you have like very little stones and you clone them a lot, that can easily go onto the gameplay thermo, so it's all about optimizing between graphics and gameplay thermo. Now here you can see them using very small stones to cover the path with. This gives it a lot more detail, and sometimes the more detail you give it, the more believable a level becomes. But it's not always about all the details. Sometimes, depending on the style, it can also be preferable to do less detail. So now after the cut you can see how we used our rocks in many different ways. We covered the landscape with, we covered the gaps of the landscapes with, maybe even used them as staircases. And yeah, you can also put huge rocks in the background and use a fog that will also look great. We use them to make really small stones on the path and to put them also sideways. And I also made these cool looking lanterns out of the same technique that I just showed you to make rock, just in a different shape. Put a glowing sphere in it, just to give you an idea of what's possible with the technique that you just learned. So yeah, this was it for my first beginner's guide. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really hope that all the techniques and tips that I gave you were helpful for you. If you still have any questions, feel free to put them down below in the comments, and also feel free to suggest future video ideas on things you want to learn. I would be happy if you would give the video a like and share it with every single dreamer out there that still needs help, and yeah, make it possible for them to shape their own dreams. And now, go and shape your own dreams. Oh, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell if you haven't already. Thank you for watching.